something about eclipses, and welcome everyone. Very, very wonderful to have you here. I really intend this time to be a generative time, a time that we are co-creating something and sending it out to the world as an offering and a blessing. Because for me, these astro podcasts are really an opportunity to share the cosmic truth as I have been studying it for the last 50 years or so, and especially astrology. So it is really my joy to bring some sense and some meaning to the sky and to how it affects us. And the basic premise I use always, there are 10 planets that comprise the zodiac, right? The moon, the sun, the luminaries. And then there's 3 personal planets, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, 2 social planets, Jupiter and Saturn. They work together, Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter expands and Saturn contracts. So they serve as checks and balances for each other. So we don't go too far, too fast. And then there's the 3 outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. So we're working with 10 in this zodiacal wheel. And this solar eclipse happens to be in the sign of Scorpio. And it happened this morning at 6:48 a.m. So we are in eclipse cycle. So eclipses are cycles. They happen twice a year. And they happen when the moon and the moon's nodes are closest to the North and South Pole. So when that happens, then we've got these 2, and they're partners. So the first one is always a new moon eclipse, and this happens to be in the sign of Scorpio, the sun at 2 degrees Scorpio, moon 2 degrees Scorpio, and let's just bring the goddess Venus into the picture at 2 degrees of Scorpio. Wow. And also the south node is 11 degrees from those 3 at 2 degrees. So that plays into it too. So it's a south node eclipse. And we're going to talk about what that means and what we can do with these super duper intense energies. So I just want to know from anyone who's, wants to raise a hand or say something, have you noticed in the last 24 to 48 hours an intensity, a building, eruptive energies, feeling just like, wow, whatever is being triggered is so intense, it's almost unbearable, and thinking, wow, where is this coming from? And if you have been feeling any of that intensity in the last 24 to 48 hours, it's because the sun went into Scorpio 2 days ago, the moon today, and Venus 2 days ago. So we are in full Scorpio season. So what does that mean? The Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It has to do with emotions. It has to do with, Scorpio tends to like compact emotions. So there's an intensity. What do we do when things are intense? Maybe we give into it or we suppress. But Scorpio compresses. Scorpio tends to hold. Scorpio, the sign, tends to repress, keep things hidden, not show, even to oneself. So the learning for Scorpio is to look and to learn about oneself, to take on that precious journey, to go on that precious journey of self-knowing. And looking at one's thoughts and staying mindful of one's inner and outer environment. For Scorpio, that is essential, because what can happen with Scorpio, I call it going down the emotional rabbit hole. Scorpio contains the highest of the high. We're talking about complete transformation and emergence into full radiant beingness, i.e. the butterfly that emerges from the cocoon. And it goes all the way to the other extreme of deep emotional angst, anxiety, depression, jealousy, fits of rage. It's these emotions that are so strong and powerful that it's very hard to control. So it's good to, know about it as soon as possible, because then we can start the journey to working with this Scorpio energy. Because when we work with this energy, when we own it, the Scorpio energy tends to project. So be mindful during the next 28 days, while the sun is in Scorpio, Venus is in Scorpio, be mindful. And eclipses are 6-month cycles. So really, this is a 6-month cycle of things emerging from the subconscious depths. Expect it, invite it, welcome it, make room at the table for it, because it will come. And it is so advisable to understand that this is a cleansing. This is a necessary emotional cleansing period. And we're not only cleansing what happened to us in this life, we're actually cleansing what has happened to us in many lives. So Scorpio is the repository of ancestral memories and wounds. So that will certainly come up in some way, shape, or form. Look for your dreams. Look at interactions with people that mean a lot to you, because those are the biggest triggers. Or just anything really, because Scorpio, the intensity is building, right? We're starting at 0 degrees, Scorpio 2 days ago. We're at 2 degrees now, and we're getting up to 29 degrees. Because there's 30 degrees in each sign. So we're building, right? So if we're feeling it now, and I can say I'm feeling it now, and really had a major kind of look-see last night, right before the eclipse. But if we're feeling it now, expect it to enlarge, to get deeper and more for the next 28 days. So if we can devote, and then the 6 months is really a process. What we do this month, I feel, will have ramifications and reverberations for the next 6 months. That'll be like our 6-month curricula, emotional cleansing, healing curricula. And because it is a new moon, this is the perfect day to set intentions. To set intentions about what it is that we are just done with, that is no longer appropriate, no longer fits, that we suffer to accommodate, whether it's a habit, or it's a person, or it's maybe even a place that we're living in, right? This is a time to get very clear. Scorpio is like the detective, the one who looks deep, the one who finds clues and who probes to find the answers, the spelunker, the cave diver, but really looking for treasure. Because at the heart of it, at the heart of this journey in Scorpio, where we make the descent, and we go into this underworld, at the heart of the experience is transformation, because we return changed. So this is meant to enliven these parts of us that have been kept under wraps, under all these emotional, conditioned, past life, present life, all this stuff we've believed, we've been told, we've been brainwashed to believe. It's like enough. So Scorpio is extremely instinctual. So let's get in touch with our, instinctual nature. Let's open the floodgates to breath, and feelings and movement. And because Scorpio, because it's fixed water, it needs movement and it needs dissolving. It needs, things to get it to flow. So whatever we can do to create a flow of emotions, to create a flow for the emotions to just be and to express, that is really a key with Scorpio. We don't want to keep it down. We may, in fact, have physical illness if we do that. Goddess forbid, accidents can come if we're suppressing and keeping things down. So if we can together, whoever wants to join on this line and on this precious planet, to join in this intention and aspiration of using this time to get clear on what we want to dispose of, let go of, put to death. Scorpio, the sign of death, the sign of degeneration, the sign of everything just kind of degrading, right? It's compost. And then that compost enriches everything it touches when it's ready. So that's the opportunity we have. So we invite, if you agree and want to join me in making that aspiration to get clear. And the energy is such with eclipses. Eclipses are watershed. Eclipses come down like this, like a sword of truth, and just kind of just cutting right down the middle. What is good for us, what isn't good for us. And oftentimes eclipses bring unexpected surprises. So do not be surprised, or maybe enjoy the surprise if you find you get a surprise, because eclipses will do that. They'll bring in things out of the blue, unexpected, and they can be lovely. They can be extraordinary, they can be tough, they can be tricky. So that's why the ancient people used to look upon eclipses with a very, very fearful heart. They didn't know if what was happening. Like, oh, we don't see the sun. It's like, oh my goodness. It took a while for them to get it, that this was a reoccurring cycle and it wasn't the end of anything. And it wasn't that demons were going to come in. But I would like to speak about demons for a moment, because Scorpio actually contains that element of demonic energy in its lowest, in its most in its basest form. Right? It's demon energy. It's energy that just isn't satisfied. It's like a hungry ghost. It isn't satisfied. And so we watch our own feelings during this time. We may notice, I never feel satisfied with this, right? And maybe we can come to peace with it. Because the opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus. And Taurus is the sign of peace, the sign of repose, the sign of rest, the sign of ease, simplicity, the sign of nature, the sign of our senses, simple sense enjoyments. So the other thing I highly recommend is to keep grounded during this time. Drink good water, however much is good for you. 6 glasses, 8 glasses, whatever feels right. But do keep drinking throughout the day. Bare feet on the earth. For us in the Northeast, I think that's almost everyone here. We get to go out this week and put our feet on the earth because it's going to be 70 degrees and it's freaking balmy out there. It's wonderful. So good food, wholesome foods, real foods, stay away from as much of the processed and sugar and refined carbohydrates as possible during this time. Because the energies, the emotional intensity will be rising, it is so important for us to stay balanced. And in that balance, to create a container for these emotions to come, and for us to provide a space, a loving, welcoming space. There's a quote, I don't know if it's Rilke, maybe someone knows, and I'm paraphrasing something like, what if like all the demon was something so hurt and in need of love, right? We often, find that people who are like demons are so bereft of love, are so hurt, just so beyond repair in some ways, in some instances. So we come back to knowing that supporting this emotional deep dive into what Carl Jung called, the dark night of the soul, or into the underworld. That's the terrain of Scorpio. Scorpio is deep. Scorpio is penetrating. Scorpio wants the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth, and will go through hell and high water and back to find it. And when they do, what they discover often is like been with them the whole time, right? Like all of us, right? What we're looking for, it's within. So keep the focus as much as possible in the present moment, what you're doing, the whole mindfulness practice, being mindful when you're washing your hands, when you're eating. Like, try not to do too many things with Mercury and Gemini. Good news is Mercury in busy, multifactorial, multitasking Gemini is slowing way down. And in 5 days is going to be stationing retrograde. And that's good news, because when any planet stations retrograde, the energy of the planet is inward. So for Mars, the planet of action, this is our action, our passion planet, our desire planet, Mars, the masculine, the sexuality planet, the one who knows what we want and goes for it, Mars is slowing down in Gemini so we can take that action and turn it in. And really look at what? In Gemini, our thoughts, our thinking patterns, Gemini, and even our perception. How do we perceive? Through what filters at any given moment may we or may we not be perceiving? Look for that. Look for the filters, look for those, how we perceive. And this is going to be until January 12th. Mars will be retrograde from October 30th in 5 days till January 12th. Wow, that's a very long time for Mars to be retrograde. So in Gemini, watch for, Mars is also the planet of war and aggression and assertion. So really let us watch for any negative thinking patterns. Mars in Gemini retrograde, we will see those negative thinking patterns. And let us know that we can identify them and then shift them, right? Oh yeah, that's that old thinking, pattern that does me no good whatsoever. Eject and bring truth forth, bring a truth forth. And it's good to replace those thinking patterns with something that is truthful and present in the moment. So this is a real work time in my mind, and the work is all pretty much internal still. And that can feel very frustrating. We've not been able to move forward, that fast. We've made incremental steps. If we've done that. So we need to be patient because things are brewing. And I will tell you, by next February, March, the whole environment changes. We move from a period of inner reflection, inner changes, doing the inner reconstruction. And we actually like arrive in March with Pluto going into Aquarius for the first time in 248 years. Wow. And all of a sudden, and Saturn goes into Pisces, and all of these planets changing signs and shifting the terrain. And the terrain shifts to more of a compassionate, more of a wanting to work together, more of a thinking about the other, caring for the other. And this work that we're meant to do now, important to realize Mars in Gemini retrograde, watch for the wars that happen in our own mind, like the sides that we take, this side against this side, right? Inside of us, the wars that we have. And do your best, set the intention right now, today, to call a truce to every single war that we discover this month. That's the intention, and the energy is so intense. It's so beautiful that when we set these intentions, they get this momentum behind them. And maybe what was thorny and sticky and with us forever, during this time, we can just let it go. Just remove it from our lives, and it goes, and that's it. And then there's a whole new energy that's there, that's available, because we're not taking up space with that other. So this is profound. This month is initiating us, I feel, into this next 6-month process, 5 months, 6 months, that we, there's a newness. We come out of eclipses changed. That is usually the case. Now, most of us don't pay enough attention, especially with so much digital involvement. What I find is many of us aren't even, we're not that tuned in to how we're feeling or pay much attention to it. And that's really vital. We need to be paying attention to what is going on inside of us, to our thoughts, to our feelings, to our responses and reactions to things and people and whatever. So we bring it back and watch for projection. What during this month especially, but even Mars in Gemini, the tendency not to own our stuff. The tendency to say, you did that and it's your fault and you made me feel this way. And that we can also close a chapter to. Use this eclipse to say bye-bye to that. And ultimately, Scorpio is the sign of deep, personal, beautiful power. It's our sexual power. It's our chi power. It's our power to make these changes, to decide to transform and go through the cycle until it's complete. Scorpio will not give up, even when it should. But that's the beautiful thing about Scorpio. It doesn't give up, and it needs to discern. The sign needs to discern when to give up. I think Leo is a lot like that too. All the fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, tend to hold on and want to keep things going the same. But with Scorpio, taking back the power. No, these are my feelings. These are my desires. These are my dreams. And that's the way it is. And this is how I feel. And this is what I want. And that's the way it is. And to affirm that, I think as women especially, we need that. The tendency to give over, our time, our energy to others, to children, parents, mate. It's different. I see the difference with my husband and our little puppy. I'm like the freaking doting mother. I'm like, why? What's the matter with me? All this time. And he spends hours just doing his work, and she's so content. It's like, I can learn from this. So that Taurus is also the sign of self-possession and self-value. So similar, we're owning what we want, what we desire, what we need. And as we do this, we change the world. It is really true that as we do this, the world changes. So let us not feel frustrated that we're not able to make more of a change, although I hope and pray everybody votes. And I hope, I hope and pray everybody votes your heart. But do vote, because, oh my gosh, we have a lot at stake. And yet, even with this, the inner is creating the outer. So I'm thinking the more people in this next few weeks that embark on this journey and continue, in some respects, even continue the journey, that minds and hearts will be changed as a result of that, and that the right people will be voted in. That is my prayer and my very, very positive aspiration. And that is November 8th. So you had asked Barbara about the next part of the eclipse, which is the full moon, complete, total lunar eclipse. And because it's a total lunar eclipse, meaning, there'll be a complete eclipsing of the sun by the moon, or the moon by the sun, or sun by the moon. I get those two confused. So there'll be a total eclipse there. And in that, there's the opposition of the full moon. So we have already the full moon being extremely intense energy. The sun will be in Scorpio, the moon will be in Taurus. So you've got the Scorpio intensity, and the fact that it is total. I think when your friend says, don't go to New York City, listen, I would just say, listen deeply. How important is anything that you have to travel for hours, that you're going to be in an, unknown environment or a different environment? Because eclipses tend to bring sudden, unexpected, things and events. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit more conservative here and, a little more protective of all of us. So I'm like, I'm going to stay home, I'm going to vote, and then I'm going to stay home. So, but if you feel like going into the city is really the right energy for you during the eclipse, then so be it. That's really what this age of Aquarius is all about, that we ourselves know the truth, that we're not depending on, all of the experts for what's best for me, right? We know the foods that are good for us. We know how much sleep we need. We know what's best when we're really listening and tuning in. Oh, do get good sleep. If you try to make that a priority. And if you're not getting good sleep, then maybe take naps during the day so that you can kind of compensate, because when it becomes the full moon, then we're going to have Uranus involved. And Uranus brings a charge, an electrical charge, a cosmic charge that, can maybe like blow out a little circuit, a circuit or two. So that's why the real care for the body and keeping a very, very firm foundation with one's earthiness and one's self-esteem and self-worth. During this time, I think we're going to question that. That's what Scorpio does. Scorpio takes us into the places that say, who do you think you are? You are a faker. You're nothing. It's like, what? I mean, some of the roughest voices can happen with Scorpio. There is an edge to Scorpio. There is like, it pushes us to the point where we have to transform. You know, the energy is so like one has to give in and go one way or another with this energy. Best way to go with this energy is harness it. Harness it. Own it. It's nobody's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's not the devil's fault. It just is what it is. And for us to own our power and know that we can transform ourselves and the world because of that, well, what else do we need? So I am very, very excited. I don't have fear around eclipses. I used to. I have to say, the one thing I don't recommend you make a point of going somewhere so you can see it. If you happen to be somewhere where you can see it, look at it for just a few minutes. But I've seen too many times where people go to the eclipse place, they make it a pilgrimage, and then something so radical happens after. A severe car accident that changes the whole trajectory of the life. And ultimately for the better, but boy, really intense. So these are intense energies. And I advise respect of the Scorpio partial lunar eclipse, because it is so powerful. And then I also advise total respect for the full moon Taurus eclipse and I'll be talking about that the day after. We'll be doing something on the 9th of November. So I'm going to save that whole revelation until then, just to say that be aware as we're building up to this full moon, that things are going to get more and more and more emotionally intense. And with Mars square Neptune now and for a while longer, we also have to be aware of our own self-deception and self-denial. Our patterns of denial and self-deception. So that's part of the equation as we're doing our investigation. And it's good to find where we're still in denial. It is very good. It is not something to be ashamed of, because we all are. We can't help it because we came into a world that's its MO, right? So as we get free of that, or we're freer to expose the denial and the deception. And this is the time to do it within one's own heart, mind, and not to be spending time, you know, pointing the finger, as I said, or getting too involved, other than vote, 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 and do what we can to promote the vote. I'm like big on this vote. Oh, money, pay home. Lots of prayers. And then we have to accept, right? And work with whatever happens. A few more things I just want to say about eclipses. I wrote a few things down here. This is what to remember during this eclipse cycle and all eclipse cycles. Eclipses are points of demarcation when life is significantly different in some way before or after. So, major change. Events have a concentrated feeling. And in Scorpio, they have a super concentrated feeling, like everything is happening all at once. Also, events can feel karmic, predestined, or fated. You run into someone, you get offered something. There's some, you know, surprise or accidental meeting. Fated, destined. Even people pass often on eclipses. Both my mother-in-law and my husband's grandmother passed on an eclipse. There can be an experience of several dimensions of reality intersecting all at once. And that is really kind of interesting to just pay attention to that, to see if that's true for you in terms of these dimensions that are intersecting. And if we can identify, oh, this dimension feels like this, has this kind of tone, it's like simultaneously, we can cry, laugh, rejoice, or want to, kill someone in the same moment, because all of these alternative realities are intersecting. So I think I have explained sufficiently this, because I just really want us to be as prepared as possible. And if we do find ourselves caught in like a Scorpio maelstrom, or, drain, like going down, an emotional drain, identify, come like, oh, that's going down that Lee was talking about. Wait a minute, let me just take a few breaths. And I was sharing with Maria yesterday, I recently learned from a neuroscientist talk I listened to that breathing in to the count of 4 seconds in, and then 7 seconds out. So the exhalation is longer than the inhalation. Doing that for 3 minutes creates a balance with the parasympathetic nervous system. So remember that, such an important tool. Just start to breathe in, breathe out. And I love this. This is a kind of a Hindu chant. And as I've been doing it lately, as I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out to the count of 4. I am not my body. And then to the count of 7, I am not my body. And then on the inhalation, I am not my mind. To 4 seconds, 7 seconds out, I am not my mind. And then the last one can be, I am not these emotions. Because we're not. We're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the emotions. Even in the middle of it where we feel that's all there is, it isn't. So to remind ourselves and use the breath to balance, and then I am not this body, I am not this mind. And then I even say, I am that I am, only because that's meaningful to me. I am that I am. A lot of people find that meaningful. It's biblical, it's beautiful. So if that feels good, use it. If something else feels good, use that. But let us use tools. I've written down on an index card in the past when I have gone through my dark nights of the soul and the journey into the underworld. I have an index card on the refrigerator of my SOS things to do. Like, when in need, number 1, breathe. In 4, out 7, I am not my body, I am not my mind. Number 2, for me, it's actually, you find out what works, right? I like putting my hands around. There's a feeling of, oh, wait a minute, I'm connecting to something other than this wild ride I'm on. So whatever it is that can ground us, as you can have something to eat, drink, put your feet on the earth. But so important to acknowledge that this is happening, and we can do so much in the moment. These are the pearls, right? When it comes up, instead of, oh, shit, not this again. No, it's like, wait a minute, there's a pearl in here. There is a pearl in this experience, and the pearl is your power. With Scorpio, the pearl is always our power to say yes, to say no, our power to share our sexuality in any way that we want, that feels right, to be free of all the cultural, mores and bullshit and Catholic, crackery. How beautiful is that? To be free with our own sexuality and power, and to trust it, and to love it, and to honor it and respect it. For me, that's what this journey is in Scorpio is about, ultimately, after changing the patterns and being mindful and everything I've discussed. So the last thing I want to share is the fact that Mars and Venus are involved in this eclipse. Venus so close. Mars is actually the ruler, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and he is square Neptune now, stationing to go retrograde, very powerful. Because these two personal planets, Mars and Venus, feminine, masculine and the feminine, are so deeply involved, we feel this eclipse very personally. Some eclipses, not as much. They come and they go, and I think, wait, what happened? I didn't notice anything. But here, it's already making its presence felt. So because of that, it is important to admit and acknowledge who and what we want and to own it. Acknowledge it and own it. That's Mars and that's Venus. And they'll be very, very happy that you've done that. The eclipse was visible this morning in Greenland and Iceland and most of Europe except Portugal and South Spain, North Africa, and over much of Western and Central Asia. So it wasn't visible here. So I don't feel badly that I'm telling you about this after, if you could have seen it, but it is nice to witness it for a brief period, at some point in the life. But I think that might be it for tonight. I don't want to overwhelm you. What I would like to do, though, is end with a short meditation together, and then maybe just sign off in silence, because this is where we're being asked to go, into the silence and also into that great inner reflection place. So I would love for us to just join in our hearts, minds, spirits right now. Maybe imagining we're holding hands. I know I'm hokey that way. So let's join hands and vibrationally and feel each other, the ones who have stayed on. Thank you so much for staying on and being present for all of this. I couldn't have done it without you. These podcasts only come because you're here and because of what you bring. So thank you. It is truly a co-creation, and one that we're offering for the benefit of all sentient beings and this beautiful earth, that she be renewed and revitalized along with us. Okay, so let's close our eyes if this feels comfortable. Put one hand on our heart and the other on our belly, our hara, our womb center. And just breathe naturally. After listening to all these words about this event called an eclipse, and Scorpio in particular, just notice how you're feeling. And whatever you find, however it is that we're feeling, let's say yes to it. And breathe into that feeling and into the yes that allows that feeling to come through. And knowing that feelings during this time are actually messengers, helpers. They're the experiences in which we are to mine the gold. So opening up right now to our feelings and just offering a beautiful welcome to the good, the bad, the ugly, the spectacular, the whole gamut and everything in between. And on this new moon, the intention to bring peace and to make peace wherever we find conflict, wherever we find a war, especially within our own minds. We intend, affirm, aspire to bring peace, to be peacemakers. As these disparate elements come up, we allow them, the sphere, to come up in. And then we bring peace. We bring some resolution, some form of yes. And it might even be saying yes to this and yes to that. Often wars happen because of the one side saying it's this and the other side saying it's that. So just by saying yes to this, yes to that, already something shifts. And I'd like for us to imagine a very deep, deep, safe space within our bodies. Notice the first thing that comes up. Where is this deep, safe space? Where does it reside? Where does it potentially reside? And if you don't feel anything, just pick. Pick the spot you want, this deep, safe space to abide. And all together, let's breathe into this safe space that we are creating and that we are using to contain whatever emerges from the depths of our subconscious in this next time period. And if we can see this deep, safe space widening and deepening and holding, being able to hold more and more and more. Breathing in 4, breathing out 7. I am not my body. This body is not mine. I am not this mind. This mind, it is not mine. 7. I am that I am. 4. I am that I am. 7. Breathing and actually feeling, inhabiting a safe space within our bodies can help during this time. Also, we call upon our ancestors, our helpful ancestors, the ones we want, the ones who benefit us. We call upon all of our spirit guides and our beautiful spirit circle, all of our advisors on the spirit planes. We invite Tara, all those, Archangel Michael, Kuan Yin, anyone who you have a connection with, and even those you may not know about. So we invite our spirit guides and our spirit council to be present during this deep, emotionally transformative time and work, and we ask for their help to consolidate this container of safety, to help us through so that we can emerge made new, victorious, radiant, and free, knowing who we are and being able to give our gift to the world. So much love, so many blessings during this time. Reach out to a friend, to me, to whoever, if you need to. Talking to people during this time is wonderful. People who love you and see you, that can really help. So thank you from my heart to your heart. I wish you all so much peace and so much polarity resolution. And Mars accomplishes his great mission, retrograde in Gemini, in all of us. And I just want to dedicate the merit of this precious time together for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all beings know happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings know the great bliss which is free from all suffering. And may all beings, all of us, know the great equanimity, the great peace and balance that is free from all attachment and aversion. So good work to you, fellow Astro Journeyers. And until next time, so much love. Bye for now.